Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the show. Today, our episode is on change. Change is something that I struggle with, and that some people I really care about struggle with too. And maybe you struggle with change too. So here we go. I'm going to read you a little story. You can call it a poem if you want. Just made it up. Bobby was comfy, and then a storm hit. Bobby was frightened. What should he do? His house was displaced. The weather had just ripped apart his life. Gone, without a trace. So for Bobby, his house was his home, and his home was his life. And this change happened, and it left Bobby naked in the wind. Bobby was not stoked. So, it wasn't just a structure that got torn to the ground. It was a place where Bobby could feel himself. Memories were made there, and he got that house when he first moved to town. That was his whole idea of what living there meant to him. Now it was gone. And Bobby knows that he should move forward and that there's more to life than his house, but he can't. That storm's just living rent-free in his head. It took something away from Bobby, and Bobby's afraid to let it go. And well, that memory of the storm taking his house is his last memory of the house, and he's afraid to let that go. So he gets an apartment eventually, because he can't be homeless forever. But he's still living in the past. And he plays the process, that horrible process of nature just screwing him over and over and over again. He replays this process of heartbreak, and it's almost comforting playing it over again, even though it's so terrible. So, why, says Bobby, why would nature ever do this to me? I thought nature was supposed to love and be good to people. I'm good to nature, so why is nature not good to me? But this is just one of the many questions that are left unanswered in Bobby's life, unfortunately. And life goes on for Bobby. And this event takes less and less space up in his mind, but it's still there. It's still lingering. Just, remember me? And wonderful things happen in Bobby's life. He travels to new lands, he experiences new people because of this change. Because of what this change incentivized, he's able to live out new things, to have new aspirations, to be given the space to be creative in a different manner, all because of this horrible event. And he's still trapped. He's still trapped by that discomfort. So Bobby thinks that he needs to move far away. Even though he has a new apartment, he's still in that same town, and Bobby wants to move far away to get rid of that horrible memory forever and ever. So he packs up and he goes on the road to have a new mindset in a different place, because, well, if he's gone and he's out of that place where that memory happened, maybe it'll just escape him. And eventually he starts to miss home, not just his house, but his home, his what he didn't even consider his home. He considered his house his home, but his home was the whole place that he lived. It was the trees outside of his property line, and so on and so forth. And he starts to miss home, and well, the traumas associated with the home. So even though he moved away to get rid of the trauma, he misses the home, and the home's associated with the trauma, so the trauma never leaves Bobby, and he's just overwhelmed with this sense of no matter where he goes, it's never going to escape him. It's never going to get better. Gosh, that sounds horrible. I hope Bobby's all right. And then he's walking down a path. He meets a lion. The lion's name is Matt. And Matt, the lion, is on a journey of change himself. It's consistent. And Matt's confronting it head on. The lion is confronting it head on. And Bobby's amazed by this act of heroicness that Matt the lion's just able to take this change and make the best of it. And it's really cool to Bobby, but Bobby doesn't understand how can you accept change with such open arms and ability to set yourself free of the weighing downiness of change, and just letting it be almost sitting with the change and not having the change sit on you. And the lion says that he thinks change is good because it gives space for new things. Just like Bobby was able to appreciate new things a little bit after his house got messed up by the weather, he was able to appreciate those new things. And Bobby thinks back into the times of his life, not just after the house got blown down, but after hard change in general, and the good moments he's had after it. And Bobby's perplexed, and he scratches his head and he says, all right, I think I like where you're coming from. And he thanks Matt the lion, and he goes on his way. What good insight that lion had. Anyways, Bobby's perplexed as he wanders through the beautiful world. And so, does this mean that even though something sucks, does it mean that not all of it sucks? However, my house being torn away from me, it got me here. It got me thinking in this open-minded train of thought, didn't it? And just like that, Bobby cared a little less about the storm taking his house. And he became a little more thankful of where he is now. And as that weight slid off Bobby's soul, he began to appreciate where he was. That feeling of lightheartedness came over Bobby, and immense joy and gratitude flooded the day. And, well, just as Bobby found out, change comes for us all, ready or not, change will come. And it can be great change, it can be not so great change. And how? How are we supposed to? How do we? Is there a right way? How do we take change as it comes? Say if you were to drop your coffee on the floor, you could be reactive about change, and you say maybe a quick, oh fuck, and then you realize that you're being kind of a child, you get your thoughts together, clean up your coffee, clean up your broken glass, and move on with your day like a normal person. Or your house might get blown down, and it might weigh on you for years and just forever. It's awful. And then you meet a lion in the woods and you get over it. But how long do we let change sit on us for? And do we have to let change sit on us? Or do we choose to? Arguably, we choose to let change sit on us most of the time. Or maybe a person holds a door for you. You say, thank you. And do we let it brighten our day? Or does it make a difference? Anyways, these examples could just keep coming. You get your dream job. Do you celebrate or do you just keep on hammering? How do we let change affect our days and affect who we are? And I certainly do not know the answer. However, we take never mind. Stupid thought. Anyways, but dwelling on change to the point that it affects how present we are in the future, which the future is now. If we dwell on change to the point where it affects where we are now, where we're going to be, which is now. A second from now is my future, which is now. And that's, I believe that change has a purpose, but I don't think that the purpose of change is to weigh down our present. Anyways, how can we fully absorb the present if we are stuck in the past? I mean, I don't really think we can because we're absorbed in the past. Well, maybe we can answer that question through our future. So, the future. Is the future the opposite of the past? Sure. So, things about the future, things that I would like to have in the future. What do I want to have in my future? Well, I want to have financial security. I want to have good health. I want to have a loving family. I want to have a little house and big bike jumps. But how? How do we prepare for the future? And where do we go? Where do we go from now to the future? How do we get there? How do we get there while we are staying present in today? How do we live for the future without being consumed in the idea of, I don't know, retirement, a stable life when you're older? But how do you still live for that? Well, I called my dad because he's old, and he said something very cool. I said, how do you live for your future, Dad? And he said, by living the steps of your future day by day. And what he was meaning by that is that, well, the future is now, right? And you could say, no, the future is 10 years from now, but That's a part of the future. Yeah, but for him, the future is now. He's fucking old. And anyways, he lives for the future. He does his future by living day by day. And if you do want to complete a future goal, he says it's you set your goal, you give it some framework, and you do those steps. You do steps on a daily basis to meet your goal, to complete your objective, which is super dope. It's a super straightforward way of thinking about it, but basically he's just saying to not get too caught up in the result of things, but take steps day by day for that result, and it'll soon present itself to you, which I happen to love. I think that's an awesome way of looking at it, but he also is my dad, so I might be a little biased. Anyways, we could live the steps of our future day by day by being an absolute savage towards what we want. And gosh, what does that mean? That means breaking down the barriers of how we perceive our means breaking down the mental barriers and putting ourselves in the optimal learning environment, as optimal as we can make it to succeed in the future. Yeah, and we can be a savage through our goals by putting ourselves in that environment. It will help us succeed. And if we don't have the means to be in the optimal environment, because there could always be a better way to do something, we do it the best that we can. And well, that's a pretty dang good start. And is that an approach? Is that an approach to life and dealing with change itself? Is, well, having things come at us putting ourselves, having things come at us when we're in our optimal learning environment, taking the change and working with it, noticing it and working with the change, not working for the change, and just accepting change as a part of life, and it's the necessary change. In fact, that's, yeah. Anyways, and if change is part of life, and hopefully we're grateful for life, then, well, even though we don't want to admit that we're grateful for all change, we're subconsciously maybe grateful for all change, even the bad change, even though we don't want to acknowledge it. Whew, that's something to think about. Are bad things good? Well, maybe bad things aren't good, but maybe bad things are necessary. Maybe it's just like yin and yang, and maybe they need each other. The good change, the bad change, if you want to call it that, they need one another to exist. And well, I am you and you are me, and we are all each other, and changes. Holy fuck. I need better notes. If bad to me is good to you, and I am you and you are me, and we are all each other, then change is neither this nor that. And if I were to say I can't be happy unless this good change occurs, then my quality of life would be dependent on change. And, well, that's unfortunate because I would like to be happy before change occurs. And, well, furthermore, to say I will not be happy if some change occurs, then again my quality of life would be dependent on change. But what if we choose to be happy, independent of change? So as happiness increases, and happiness always happiness is always increasing, and change is increasing with good, decreasing with bad, and we just keep on getting happier regardless of change. Well, that would be crazy. Anywho, so